Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes.
Welcome back to the Tailosive Space Podcast. This is Nick, and that's DJ.
Hi.
DJ, how did it feel to have an episode age horribly before it could even be edited or uploaded?
I just knew it was gonna happen. This is what typically happens with us. We record and we say it's either gonna absolutely happen or it's gonna just get, pushed for a while. And it happened.
It happened, and we didn't even finish the editing of it or uploading of footage before we had SN17. We had Starlink 27.
Yes.
We had all of these things that happened that in and of themselves could be entire leading headlines, all in the span of a few days right after we recorded an episode.
Yep.
So this week is the official catch-up episode, and hopefully, if all goes as planned with internet connections, ISPs, and video editing software, this will get uploaded fairly soon to when we're recording. So hopefully this one, knocking on some wood, is not going to be as outdated as the last one.
Hey.
All right, leading today, what do we have, DJ?
Well, just a little bit of news. What got outdated immediately? SN15. It went up.
Yes.
It came down and stayed in one piece.
And didn't go kaboom. I kind of was excited for another kaboom, but at the same time, I guess it's good that SpaceX gets to collect data from an intact rocket or something. It's more exciting when they go boom, though. Actually, not.
So, did you watch it live?
I did. It was a very exciting, tense few moments, especially at the end there after it landed, and we're all sitting there wondering what happened. Is it going to stay? Is it not? Because SN10 last time, SN10 landed.
It was 10 minutes.
We all were all like, yay, it landed! And then 10 minutes later, just died in a big mushroom cloud, and we're all like, oh man. Okay. So I guess even when it's on the ground, it's kind of dangerous.
It stayed up. If you watched the live stream, you could see it was real close to just going off the pad. Scale, it was probably maybe 5-10 foot from the edge, but from the actual video, it looked like it was maybe 1 or 2 foot from just taking a dive for one of the legs.
Yeah, that would not have been good. And I wonder if that was we've only had 2 successful landings so far. I wonder if that was kind of off target, or if most of them, if they would have survived the landing, would have been equally far from target. But we're just so used to seeing Falcon 9s just bullseye the center of that drone ship every single time. Yeah, and it's just kind of weird when one doesn't land right in the center.
Yeah, and it's and since it just comes straight down and doesn't have to do any belly flop maneuvers, they can easily guide it with the grid fins. Because even in the live streams, you could see it's staying away from the drone ship until the very last second, and then it just kind of magically happens to bullseye it the past few times. So it's gonna be really interesting to see it when I try to land it on the oil rig landing pads. Yeah, because
totally.
Well, whoops. That'll be a major mistake.
Don't miss that. It'll be a small drop followed by a big splash. Hopefully no kabooms. Yeah. So did this mission go completely perfectly? I mean, is this the first perfect Starship launch?
Oh, definitely not perfect.
Sadness.
It looks like one of the engines had issues, and then of course we had a little fire afterwards.
Yes. Oh, and don't forget the fact that we had live stream issues the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
And we're all pretty sure that SpaceX accidentally linked their stream key.
Well, they were using. It looks like they were trying to use Starlink for this, and they were. You could see the actual UDP IP addresses with their port numbers. But they probably weren't public, and where you could get to it, you probably had to have credentials to log into it to see it. But I haven't seen anybody that tried during the stream at least. But
yeah.
Well,
and they did have Dishy McFlatface on it, so it was sad in a way that we didn't get perfect crispy coverage like for half of the
It's just like frozen for a couple minutes at a time, like especially when it's cloudy and they're the only ones that we can get footage from above the clouds.
Exactly, right? Like the cloud layer was really the problem here, because normally, you have TimStream and LabPadre and SpaceX, and they all have ground cameras, right? And so you can kind of like look between them. Is it still alive? Is it still going? Did it go kaboom? Yeah. But with this one, we had no idea until it refreshed. We did have a, John, the announcer guy.
Oh, John Innsbrucker.
The vehicle is Innsbrucker? Innsbrucker. The vehicle is performing nominally, and we just have a short cutout of the video feed. Like, we're still getting telemetry. Keep the telemetry coming. Short, yeah. We're all just sitting here like waiting for this thing to show us a frame of goodness. Did you notice the increased piping and stuff? Like SN15 is obviously like a whole new kind of tranche. Yeah,
it looks like there's less going on, but what is going on is kind of more pronounced. So it's kind of more or less just cleaned up and beefed up.
Yeah. So. And it looks like perhaps this one wasn't made in a field by people who make grain silos, because that is an interesting tweet you shared with me, comparing, I believe it was, who is that? Who does the aerial photography?
RGV.
RGV aerial photography. They had a side-by-side of 2019 and 2021, the Starship base down in Boca Chica, it's night and day difference.
It's massive.
It's like 2019, they had one tent and Starhopper, and now we have like a facility with like 4 tents and a couple high bays and launch pads and fuel farms, and it's like, whoa, crazy.
Like, I mean, they have RGV has another image on Twitter with actual like labeled stuff on it, and you can just see, I mean, like they have a pre-building area, they have the mid bay, the high bay, fuel production site, nose cone tents, dome and ring tents, ground fab, possible new test area, the scrapyard, hydro test tents, the low bay, which is the triangle one, which is the first one they built, the propulsion building. And then you see Boca Chica Village sitting right there beside it. And now, like, their site in 2019 was like the size of Boca Chica Village. Now you could fit Boca Chica Village in one or two tents.
In one of the tents, yeah.
It's completely changed.
You wouldn't really recognize it. It's so much has grown up, and it's so awesome to see that like it's all just coming alive, right? Like before, it's a pretty green field with sandy beaches, and now it's like a factory for making orbital class rockets. Yeah, and it's absolutely insane. You got the big cranes there too. Go ahead.
Yeah. One thing I really wish would happen is on Apple Maps and Google Maps, they still have not updated images of this area, like since before 2019. Because, like, zooming in on the launch site, you have they were starting to build the foundation pad, just like actually rolling out the dirt and getting that kind of set up. And then you have like a little, looks like just a sandy plot that was kind of graded off where the launch or the landing site now is. And then you go back over to the production site. It's like nothing. It's not even a tent there. I mean, you got whatever here is listed as UTRGV Stargate. No clue what that is, but I don't even think that building is there anymore.
I know, right? Like everything's changed.
Yeah, like they have a one little hut, kind of like right beside Weems Street, which is like the last street of Boca Chica Village. And nothing else. There's one little fenced off area in this image as well, and it's just nothing. Like the amount of stuff that they've done in this area since these images were taken, which I can't even find because Google
May March of 2019 versus May of 2021 was the images that
so this had to probably be like like late 2018 or something like that for these
Probably.
map images. But man, it back from the Starhopper days to now.
When
it's
the
nuts.
satellites can't even keep up with the innovation and progress that you have on your space system, infrastructure, that's how
Yeah.
you know you're not SLS. So let's go back to SN15 because I think it was a kind of slick transition with how much Boca Chica has been built up. But we need to talk about the big thing that happened with SN15. One of its engines did not light, and that's kind of a big deal. Thankfully, it didn't result in a loss of vehicle,
That is
but
very true.
it definitely could have. It was kind of close. I think who was it? Was it Scott Manley? Anyway, yeah. Anyway, one person
probably.
estimated did a frame count of how fast it was landing, and they estimated that the landing speed was 6 meters a second, which is just above that 5 meters a second.
It was
target
like
landing.
11 miles an hour or 13 miles an hour or something like that. He calculated versus
Okay, yeah.
25 or something like that for what is it?
So.
SN10. Yeah. So
10. Yeah, so it was a little fast, and one of the engines didn't light, which is not a good thing, especially since this is a new version of Raptor as far as we can tell. Slightly tweaked, slightly modified version of Raptor, which is supposed to be a little bit more reliable on startup, and unfortunately one of them wasn't. But thankfully they have all of them intact at the moment, so they can tear them down and figure out exactly what went wrong.
For the first
hopefully
time.
make the next set better. For the first time ever, a flight proven right. Well, I guess Starhopper didn't. They were able to look at
Starhopper ate
Raptor.
itself, literally.
It kind of did at the very end there. Yeah, it kind of did start eating itself, but it did land. So they were able to look at it after. So congrats to SpaceX for a huge achievement right there. That was the first step towards everything else that's going to be happening. People say Starhopper was maybe was before the SNs, the first prototype that Elon gave the speech in front of. That was the no. This was the first step. We have a flight-proven, landed SN15, which could fly again. Do you think they'll fly it again?
Well, it looks like they're trying to put it back on the test stand. So test stand B looks like they're gonna at least take the engines off or something like that. Look at it and then maybe refly it, or just look at the engines on it and maybe decide to replace one. So, as of today, when we're recording on the 11th, they have one of the cranes hooked up to it. Still hasn't moved, but I guess we'll see sometime soon.
I was kind of thinking they might do some more pressure tests and maybe a static fire or two. I wouldn't go as far as to saying they'll refly it because SN16 is already pretty much ready, and they've made more improvements and stuff. And so I don't know if they'll take the time to fly SN15 again. It would be kind of cool if they did at some point. But I definitely think it would be worth it for them to do at least a few pressure tests and maybe a static fire or two.
Yeah.
And just test the reliability of those Raptors. So
well, I mean,
cool
we have two test stands, so SN16 and 15 could be out there at the same time. And
true.
You never know, they might do 16 and then right behind it do 15 just for funsies. Because I mean, if it's already on the launch pad, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna scrap it from the launch pad, or you're just gonna fly it again, see what happens, and
Yeah. Well, it is already there. You might as well just light that candle again until it blows up, because that's what they did with Falcon 9, and they just kept throwing them up there until a few of them landed, and they just kept throwing even more up till it landed reliably, and they kept throwing more up till it landed regularly. And now, for the first time ever, which if you are listening to this and this is the first you're hearing of it, you need to go find Twitter. But SpaceX has landed their 10th Falcon 9 booster in its entire life. That's so cool. We have a 10th reflight and landing of a Falcon 9 booster.
And it was such crisp imagery all the way down to, and it it was just like I said earlier, you could see it was off track from the drone ship like they normally are before they dogleg it at the last second to make it over to the drone ship. And it still amazes me how they can do this and how they can land on such a precise 20 meter by 20 meter circle or something like that. So but hey,
when the thing is huge.
Yeah.
These are big rockets.
Like, you know, I mean, these. What's the diameter? Like 3 meters for the Falcon 9.
Yeah, 3 meters for Falcon 9.
So it's like let's say 333. That's what 9. Let's say it's more around the
Like 11.
Like 11 or 12 meters with the landing legs down or something like that. That's a pretty big footprint to try to land on a ship in the middle of the ocean. So
Totally. And you were going at almost orbital speeds at huge altitudes. Yeah. That's a huge impressive thing. And what gets me is this whole reflight, this 10th reflight, only had a turnaround time of 56 days.
Man, that
is
getting crazy.
That's approaching the record of the space shuttle. Now, obviously, we've had Falcon 9s turned around faster.
Yeah.
That have even beat the space shuttle's turnaround time record. But just the fact that this is the 10th reflight, this is the oldest booster in their fleet that's currently operational as far as a number of flights. And its turnaround time took less than 2 months. That is crazy. Yeah. And yeah, you could see all the scorch marks. They didn't bother to give it a coat of paint or to scour it all because that's how SpaceX works.
Even the fairing halves didn't even bother doing that. They were sooty too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're right. Yeah. But it's crazy how fast this turnaround time is, and that just shows you the reliability. So, DJ, question for you: do you think we will have an 11th reflight of BN 1051, or do you think it's going to a museum?
Honestly, at this pace, and nothing said of it as of now, like I would think they would have announced that it would be going into a museum as soon as it landed, if it did land. So I think they're going to go for an 11th, to be honest. I mean, because we have, I think it's 2 more night flight boosters already, or a current night flight and then an upcoming night flight. So I mean, they're getting close to a couple more 10 flight boosters. So
yeah. Do you think it'll live through the 11th reflight?
Yeah.
Like at some point these are going to die, right? Like
yeah, I would probably say around 15 flights is what I give it, unless they do a major overhaul or something like that. But I mean, just the fact that they've been reusing them, so they've been launching so much in the past 6 to 8 months that it's like they were at maybe like 5-6 flights as of October or September or something like that, and now it's a 10th flight, a couple 9th flights, 7s and 6s. I mean, we've had 14 SpaceX launches so far this year, and we're like first week and a half into May, and all but 3 of those I think were Starlink launches on top of that.
Starlink.
So it's like,
yeah,
man,
people really just don't understand how fast SpaceX is moving on the Starlink front, but it's still not fast enough for me. I'm still sitting here waiting for my Starlink to be delivered, but until then, we're just going to be staring at the void of space wanting our Starlink faster.
Yep.
Thankfully, though, SpaceX has gotten out of the habit of throwing rockets at people. Did you see any news on that this week, DJ?
Yes. According to TikTokers, there's been rocket parts in their backyard, which is obviously false. God,
TikTokers. That's where you should get your news, folks.
Absolutely get your news from TikTok. That's the most reliable source on the internet. No, it was there was this dude that was live streaming, walking up to the rocket, and a military Humvee showed up as he was live streaming it. I'm like, no, the picture that's shown with this is from a plane crash because it's obviously English lettering and not Chinese. I can't remember the calligraphy or whatever they call the actual letters that they use or the stuff. Yeah. But the Long March 5, it got really close to the Maldives. You said, right?
Yes. Yeah, the poor Maldives. They were real close. The Maldives, for those who don't know, is one of the most beautiful places on Earth. A bunch of islands in the beautiful kind of, I guess, Western Pacific area. It's in the Indian Ocean, I guess, huh? Yeah. I guess that would be the Indian Ocean.
Somewhere around the Indian Ocean.
It barely missed the Maldives by a couple thousand miles. That sounds like a lot, but at orbital velocities, that's kind of close. Thankfully, the booster, I guess, is the second stage booster of the Long March 5 launch that China did a while ago. For those who don't know, China doesn't have as good deorbit systems on their Long March 5 as other countries do. There isn't like an international requirement to deorbit your stuff properly, but it's always a good idea not to lob second stages at people, and being able to do that in a controlled manner is very important. And so unfortunately, China lost control of the second stage at some point, and it started tumbling. And from what we could tell from the live streams, it looked like it might have already been tumbling right after the payload deployment. So that's obviously not good, but thankfully the payload seems to have reached its successful orbit, and nobody got hurt with the second stage coming crashing to the ground. But the reason why it deorbits is because it didn't have quite enough velocity to get high enough out of the drag in the Earth's atmosphere. And so if you have a large enough piece of equipment, and even just a tiny little bit of a fraction of air pressure, and you get enough air molecules bumping up against your rocket booster, it will eventually deorbit. But since it was in kind of an unknown orbit, and they can track the current orbit, but they can't track the spin quite as well.
Yeah.
So they couldn't quite tell how fast it was spinning or what orientation it was in. And so that made their models for predicting where it would land fairly imprecise, covering like almost half of the globe. I guess we knew its inclination, so we knew it wasn't going to land in the North Pole, the extreme north latitudes, or extreme south latitudes, but like literally a swath from like Europe to Australia was just like it might land here somewhere. But the great news is our best guess was it landed in the middle of our best guess region. So going forward, if this happens again, they might be able to refine the guess areas to start evacuating people, or at least letting them know, hey, a 27-ton booster might be landing sometime over your head.
No big deal at all.
Yeah, no big deal at all. That's all.
So, but hey, China drops rockets on their own
Nobody
people.
got hurt.
So
Nobody got hurt.
Yep. But let's talk about something that did get hurt a little bit.
Uh-oh.
Doge.
All right. So, thankfully, when I divested into other forms of currency, I didn't put all my money in Doge, as lots of people on the internet did. I saw that. Poor Doge. That little meme is not doing well at the moment, and hopefully it goes back up, and by the time you're listening to this, hopefully it's literally at the moon. Because what we know is Doge is now officially, according to Elon and SpaceX, Doge is literally going to the moon.
Yep.
Not in the literal sense of money hitting high points of cryptocurrency, but Dogecoin is going to be accepted by SpaceX as a form of payment. And there is already plans for having a Dogecoin-funded satellite go to the moon. And they are going to be raising over $70 million worth of $70 million worth of Dogecoin for this launch, I believe, if I'm remembering what I saw in that article.
Yeah. And
but anyway, that's kind of crazy.
At that $70 million
mission.
price right now, it's like 49 cents for Doge. I mean, you're looking at 140 million Dogecoin. Like,
yeah, that's kind of crazy. Yeah.
Do you know
hopefully Doge.
Do you know the number of Dogecoins there are at all?
I've seen that number before, but the problem with Dogecoin is there isn't a set limit. The reason why Bitcoin is very strong is because you're only going to ever have 21 million Bitcoins in circulation ever. Yeah. But Dogecoin is an inflationary cryptocurrency, so it's gonna there's new ones being minted every day, and so it's currently going up. But I think it's somewhere in the maybe low trillions.
Here I see it right here. 129 billion total supply.
Okay. Cool.
Some of native units visible on the ledger. Yeah, so 129 billion Dogecoin.
That's a lot of Dogecoin. But
yes.
I'm just happy that we're gonna have some Doge on the moon, not on the moon, orbiting around the moon. What is this payload gonna do, DJ?
It seems like reading a CNBC article, It's basically some kind of lunar orbiter, some like visual instruments and some non-visual instruments, just taking measurements. So
Okay, so that doesn't sound quite as exciting, but it's Doge going to the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is exciting. Do you think that other people will start paying for SpaceX launch services and crypto? Like, I could totally see some like person who invested in Doge, back when it was nothing, and they're now a Doge multimillionaire. I could totally see one of them calling up SpaceX and being like, "Hey, put me on one of them Falcon rockets, please. Here's a bunch of Doge."
I mean, when it comes to spaceflight, with as fluctuating as like crypto is, I don't foresee it happening other than like this mission and maybe a successor to this mission, being that it's literally called Doge 1. I just don't think so.
Hey, I wouldn't put it past the crypto community. I've seen plenty of random acts of kindness. I could totally see one guy who, pays for a full Crew Dragon mission and invites 3 other lucky people to join him. That'd be kind of cool.
If he like pays the current price at a certain time and then
they lock it in.
Yeah, well, not necessarily lock it in, but make it the price with Doge or with whatever crypto flexible. So like when it comes up time, it's like pay the rest of the balance, or SpaceX refunds some of the balance at a certain time or something like that. That's the only way that I could see crypto actually being in spaceflight with as fluctuating as it is, other than meme flights from a 40 kilogram small sat.
You mean that SLS doesn't operate on cryptocurrencies?
Oh
no!
Well, it operates on
plus.
It operates on inflation. That's what it operates on.
Yep. How much can we inflate the price?
Hey. Oh man.
Yeah. Oh well.
There's the SLS hit for the day.
Yeah, SLS hit for the day. Thankfully, though, Dogecoin is going to the moon. What is not going to the moon and might be hitting Earth in some near point in the future is a society-ending asteroid that has been modeled out and is impending doom of Europe.
Yes.
Did you see that?
Yes. Let's get the...
you had to have seen that because you told me about it.
Let's get the news reporter version of this going.
Breaking news here from the front lines of our NASA headquarters. We have a very important announcement. Please take shelter. This is not a drill.
So NASA, a few weeks back, decided to model a rogue asteroid with an approach vector to Earth. And they had 6 months simulated time, which I believe they did 6 days for that test period. And they were trying to come up with a way to stop it or get it off track with current rocket technology. And to say the least, all of Europe was wiped out. So
simulated Europe.
they could not save it and basically were goners. So
how big was this modeled asteroid?
I cannot remember off the top of my head. It was
That's fine.
Big enough to take out Europe, so I would say fairly big.
Just
man.
Yeah, that's kind of fun in the one moment where we can just kind of play in the simulation, because Elon says we live in a simulation. So
absolutely.
If we live in a simulation and we're having simulations, last I checked, someone in 2019 simulated a global pandemic, and that worked out well.
Let's not repeat the simulating the pandemic for simulating this asteroid. But here's some more information on that test. They the first observations tell scientists only that it's somewhere between 2,100 feet and 2,300 feet. So from about the half the wingspan of a 747 to twice the height of the Empire State Building wide. And let's see if it says what the actual width of it was for what hit theoretically. I don't see it. Oh wait, brace for impact. Here we go. It was perhaps between 260 and 790 feet wide. So it was still a fairly large span. Basically, if there's anything more than like a kilometer, or not a kilometer, like, was that a quarter mile or something like that wide, a continent is screwed.
Let's just say when last time we saw that, dinosaurs were around. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Now, what did they do to try to stop it? Like, were they lobbing like every rocket that they could at it, or? See,
I could not find anything about that actually. Like,
okay,
they just said they couldn't.
This is an interesting study because it's gonna happen at some point. It has to.
Don't you think we should probably start developing something for this situation type thing? All that I've seen is they couldn't do it with current technology, basically. So, yeah.
Well, that's unfortunate. If we get a world-ending asteroid, everyone better head for the hills and get out of Europe, because evidently the simulation said that Europe is the target.
It said screw you.
We really need someone to save Earth. We should really have, I don't know, Chad save Earth.
No,
Chad save Mars.
Yeah, he's on Mars. So
okay, we should have Chad save Mars.
Yeah. I really wouldn't trust Chad to save Mars, though.
So if you don't know what we're referring to, Elon was on SNL the other night, being Elon and being on SNL. And one of the better sketches, which in my ever so humble opinion, there weren't many good ones, but one of the better ones was the Chad Saves Mars one, which I chuckled at a couple times, where basically the bumbling idiot, which I have now been told is a regular on SNL, Chad, his responsibility is to save Mars by just flipping a switch on the oxygen tank, which is outside, because...
That makes total sense, right?
Space. And he's going to die from radiation.
You're trusting the village idiot to save everybody, and he's going to die either way because he's going out in a solar storm, and he's the one that volunteered to do it. First off, I don't think he would have ever made it to Mars.
Secondly, who the heck designed that ship, that switch with the oxygen way far away? Why is there a switch that fixes everything?
If
SLS had the switch that fixed everything, we would be on the moon right now.
Oh man, it's like the fact that you should do this, blows him back, and then he comes back. I'm good.
Yeah, just the cut. Yeah, it was a funny sketch. What I really liked though was Elon's bit of it. Elon was in ground control and kind of doing like the Capcom, and whatever he said and the way he said it kind of gave me like little goosebumps. I was like, ooh, this is Elon Musk. It's up to you to save everyone on Mars.
Yeah,
like, ooh,
and then
cool.
They start putting a live feed of Chad to like every big billboard, like Times Square, London, wherever else they put it on there. And after he flips the switch and he successfully saves the colony on Mars, they tell him, "Let the camera get a good look at your face." First off, where's the camera?
Exactly. Thank you.
Second off, Chad is a genius, remember?
Yes.
And when they say, take a good look at let the camera get a good look at your face. Okay.
Okay.
Just imagine a red visor now.
Multiple problems with this. Number one, his suit was not inflated during the sketch. It was all frumpy and just cloth.
I didn't
so
even
there's no
notice that.
pressure differential. There was no pressure differential between inside of his suit and the Martian atmosphere. So taking off his helmet wouldn't have done that explosive decompression, which also that is not how explosive decompressions work. Also, spacesuits are designed that when there's a pressure differential, you can't take them off. Chad, you're an idiot.
It's official.
It's official, Chad.
Oh.
Don't let people get that good of a look at your face.
No, but see, my favorite part came up right after that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
So,
I
right
watched
after...
this skit once, like 3 days ago.
Oh, true. Right after it happened, Elon said, well, I said people were going to die. All right, I wasn't here. Just walks out.
Yes, and then he walked off. Yes. And that's something that I think people need to realize a little bit more. Like, people are gonna die on this Martian adventure at some point. Like, it's a sad thing, of course, but it's progress, and that's how humans explore. Been doing it for generations, and that's, you know, we've had many a brave hero risk their life and pay the ultimate sacrifice on space shuttles to Soyuzes to, you know, and I'm sure people will die on Mars, and it's going to be sad, but it's all about progress in space. And I think that people will kind of be shocked when that happens, just like when people are shocked when an FSD driving vehicle gets caught on fire after an accident. They're going to be like, "Oh my gosh, can you believe this happened?" But like, no, things happen, life happens. The world isn't completely safe, neither is Mars. So yeah. Thankfully, Chad, though, was able to keep his cool and flip that switch. That was probably because he had enough fingers and toes to count everything that he needed. But unfortunately for Electron, who's going to be launching a rocket on Saturday, they're running out of toes.
Yes. So...
That might have been the smoothest transition ever on this show.
See, I had one lined up. I was hoping I was going to be able to get.
What was yours? Okay, we're talking about Chad. DJ, would you like to try your transition?
Well, too bad Chad is not coming home. But something else is going to be making an attempt at coming home. We got an Electron with a recovery attempt.
There you go.
Yeah, so.
There you go.
Definitely would have worked better if it was in the moment, but...
No. Those were two perfectly good current transitions.
Oh, man. So, yeah, Electron. There we go. They are getting close to their 20th flight. This is what... did it say on pre-launch at all?
I couldn't... pre-launch preview, either their website isn't working. This is Everyday Astronaut, Tim Dodd. Either the website isn't working, or maybe I'm not looking at it right, but I'm not seeing an article for either of the upcoming Starlink or Electron rocket launches, which is leaving me in a woeful amount of uninformation, because, you know, DJ and I are good hosts, and we research the heck out of these shows, so we provide the best amount of information for you guys, and definitely don't do this off the top of our heads. But running out of toes is the next Electron launch. They've said that they're going to try to recover this booster, but not with the whole catching it in midair with a helicopter. People have asked Peter Beck, namely Tim, why they aren't trying this out yet, and they're not quite ready. And what they found over at Electron is that it's fairly easy to reuse their Electron rockets after they have hit the ocean. Now, the ocean's a great target. It's huge, but there are two main problems with the ocean. Number one is you're landing at about 15 miles an hour or so, depending on how you weight your parachute and all that fun stuff. So it's kind of a fairly, abrupt stop. You're hitting water, which acts like concrete at high velocities. And so you got to have a rigid enough structure to survive that. But then also it's floating around in the water, and there's a lot of corrosive salts and seawater that gets in everywhere that you have to clean after. So sometimes it's a big hassle to clean a booster after it gets in the water. But as they've discovered, it's not impossible.
Yeah. I'm trying to look on their... I just went ahead and went to Rocket Lab's site. I still don't see a mission number, but I was looking at their... mission details, and I was trying to see I can't remember if they said this one was going to be under parachute or not. If it was going to be another one that just like came straight down. I mean, it says splashdown.
I think all of them have a parachute, right?
Well, I think the early ones just went straight in. Like the early ones that they dropped in like.
I think they all tried to have a parachute, but. And I'm not talking about the parawing that the helicopter catches, but just like a parachute to slow it down.
See, that might be what I'm thinking. Is this? It definitely doesn't have the paraglider parachute. Yeah. So, I can't wait for that to happen though. That's gonna be a cool thing when they try to recover that. So
definitely, I love Electron. They're my favorite little rocket company. Can't call SpaceX a little rocket company anymore. Yeah,
Falcon 9's pretty big.
It's pretty big, and the company is too.
Yep. So this launch is for Black Sky. They've had a couple launches for Black Sky. This is 2 Black Sky 60 kilogram class satellites, and it's they're upscaling Black Sky's potential in space, or their whatever the word is for their usability in space, more or less, I guess.
Okay. Functionality, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
That's
Functionality.
Awesome.
English, I don't know it. What else we got?
Well, I'm thinking next off we need to talk about Electron's little big brother, which is not little. It's kind of just a big brother. We have another Starlink mission going up on Falcon 9. You would imagine if the last Starlink mission was Starlink 27, the next one would be Starlink 28. Unfortunately, SpaceX is trying to throw us all for a loop and confuse the heck out of everybody. Yep. We're doing Starlink 26 on Saturday. Woohoo! So, yay!
Oh, wait. Let's see if this... let's see. I'm going to look at this real quick. Let's see. So, Starlink 26 is in 3 days. When's the next Starlink? Yes. Oh, there's not another Starlink for a little while. Dang. I was about to say, watch it get pushed back behind 28.
No, that's gonna make it all that much more confusing.
Yeah, no. So it's yeah. Well,
yeah. Anyway, it's going up with another 60 Starlink satellites. I mean, nothing specifically noteworthy about this one, right? Is this one a 9-3 flight?
I believe it should be.
I don't know. I'm not looking at every day. They don't have an article.
Yeah, they don't have an article for it.
We rely
it's
on
one of the
articles.
later. It's one of the later ones. That's for sure. Okay. But speaking of Starlink, if you ever actually want to like view where Starlink satellites are and like view them by mission as well and see where they are, I was looking
like orbiting on Earth.
Yeah, around where they're orbiting.
Ooh.
So I am in Mississippi, and I am gonna be like mid to late this year for sure. Probably closer to late. There we go. Whenever Starlink gets in my area. But I'm looking at it right now, and there is one satellite that's kind of over my area, tracking over my area, just like looking in the general area where I am right now.
What website are you on?
It's called heavensabove.com. You could search Starlink tracker, and it's like a few results down. I can just send you this real quick. But there's, since last time I checked, it was a couple months ago, and there is definitely more satellites orbiting my area. Huh. So it looks like it's going to be getting closer and closer. I am excited to see that. But you could go through each launch individually and see all the different satellites. So you can see all the trails from the recent launches. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But like
that's kind of actually crazy.
Mm-hmm. There's at least clicking around right here now. There's one for sure that I see that's going over my area. There's another one. There's like probably around 4 that I can see on the screen on this side of the earth that are going over my area. So once they add some more, we might have Starlink in the next few months.
I'm kind of getting excited. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I have not seen this visualization before, and this is a really cool website. Everyone should visit heavens-above.com not a sponsor, and I didn't know they existed until just a few seconds ago. But you can watch this cool 3D visualization of all the Starlink satellites in orbit, which is like kind of insane how many there are.
Yeah,
And
it's a lot.
like some are going over the poles.
Was that rideshare mission for one of them. I'm sure was the rideshare mission. There, it looks like there's some more, way more going over the poles than just that rideshare that happened. But Transporter 1 that happened January 24th.
Yeah,
Oh well, that
interesting.
That cannot possibly be right. Cause they only launched 10 satellites in that Transporter 1 mission, and it's showing whole lot more on that orbit. I don't know. Might be glitched out or something.
I wonder what this naming scheme is. Flock, Space Bee, Astro, like maybe Spaceballs. What? Like, how do they? Are each one of these Starlink satellites named? I just assumed that they all had like numbers. But
I guess so.
Someone's named all of them. That's kind of crazy. Astrocast. That's kind of cool.
There's a lot of Flock 4S's. So I wonder if that's like. I doubt that's launch 4. Yeah, no, that's not launch 4. Launch 4 is spread out, and that's, of course, going over like Washington and stuff like that. So, but yeah, you have from Starlink 0, which was May 24th. Hey, that's my birthday. Of 2019, which had like not that many on it, all the way up to the most recent one, which was 27. And you can see those are still like in their tightly packed orientation. And then if you go back to 25, which was like a little bit longer ago, they're spread out a little bit more, and you just keep on going down the list, and they get spread out farther and farther. So, like Starlink 24 that launched on April 29th. Wow, that was close. Like, geez. April 29th, then May 4th, then May 9th. And then in 3 days, so May 4th, 13th, something like that.
There are a ton of these. How many are currently up there? I know there are a ton, but like this looks like twice as many as I thought were up there.
Let's do this math. Let's say I'm just gonna do 25 flights times 60.
Yeah,
that's around 1,500 satellites. So it's around 1,500 with the ones that have deorbited and stuff like that.
Wow,
maybe a little bit more.
Crazy.
It's getting there. It's about halfway to their first, quote unquote, first stage of the rollout.
That's awesome.
So,
well, hey, anytime I can get some Starlink coverage would be amazing.
Yeah, when I move soon, I won't need it, and of course, I still wouldn't have it down here.
Hush, 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 hush.